Good evening, good afternoon, um, good night, good morning, wherever you are. I hope you and your families are well. I want to talk about what just happened with Nolan Wells. And this is not planned. Actually, I had just washed up my dishes and I was watching a little bit of YouTube and made me some tea. I've got some peppermint tea here and decided, I was ready to go upstairs and start getting settled and bed turned back and all of that and, bathed and all that. All right. And so I have on my house dress and I've been around the house doing stuff. So I do have a little spot on here from stuff I've been doing around the house. So, deal with it. Okay. All right. My hair looks good. Y'all forgive me because my heart is with the topic. I shouldn't be laughing at really at all, but I don't know. This is disturbing to me. It's disturbing, and even though I wasn't laughing about the situation. It's just like I want to talk about it, but I don't quite know where to begin. I am a Black American, okay? I was born in Nashville, Tennessee, at a hospital that doesn't even exist anymore. Okay. Um, my mother is from a place called Hillsboro, Alabama. And I have said this before, if you blink, you will miss it. It's a little small town in northern Alabama. Her people, on my mother's side, they were from down southern Alabama. I'm thinking it was southeast Alabama. I think down Anniston. And the story of how my mother's people ended up in North Alabama farming land, uh, and her father managed the land, but it was owned by a Jewish man. The land was, if I'm remembering in the story correctly. But my mother's grandfather was a medicine man, a root worker. He had favor with this Jewish man, and when they left the plantation, they went up to North Alabama and settled in those parts and started, managing the land from there and giving jobs to people in the community to work in the land, okay? So my mother is from Alabama. My father is from Grenada, Mississippi, and he has passed over, okay? When I graduated high school, I wanted to go to Alabama, and I did end up going to Alabama. Neither my mother nor my father wanted me to, okay? And I incurred some things in Alabama. And things can happen anywhere because evil lives all over the country and all over the world. My perspective on this is going to be unapologetic because it's going to be based on my experiences. Neither one of my parents, when I graduated high school, wanted me to go down south. And my father really didn't want me to go. But I ended up going anyway, and I was okay. let me shorten it up. Fast forward, when I got married, had my children. I have a son and a daughter. Son 32, daughter's 30. When he graduated high school, he had an opportunity. I think he was offered some kind of scholarship playing football at a school in Mississippi. I'm thinking, was it a community college? Do community colleges even have football teams? I don't remember exactly. But I talked to my son, and the same thing my father told me when I graduated high school, I told my son, I said, son, don't go to Mississippi. And my children were born in Decatur, Alabama, okay? Because that's where I met and ended up marrying their father. He's from Alabama, now my ex husband. But I said, son, Mississippi is not what you want, okay? Now keep in mind, I'm not running Mississippi down. I have Mississippi blood, Mississippi history for generations. But like I said, what I'm about to say and what I am saying, I'm unapologetic for. My people, specifically Black Americans, there is no reason that we should be having to tiptoe around the feelings of Caucasoids, Negroids, other kinds of, I think it's a scientific term, or what they call white people. There is no reason we should be having to tiptoe around their feelings when they know their history, they know their heart, they know what they talk about when we're not around, and what they say about us when we're not around. As much stuff that has been done. And see this, what, let me go ahead and get this part out so I can move on. My son didn't end up going to school in Mississippi, and because I was really pressing him about not going, because I just did not have peace about it. And I think he felt some kind of way for years after that. But this Nolan Wells, and I know things can happen anywhere, but because I have blood and history with Mississippi and Alabama, I really didn't want my son down there. And there is no way, and it seems like that Caucasoid species does a little bit better, not really, but a little bit better, the maybe with some of the lighter ones of our species. I've had some experiences working in an office, okay, where I was the deepest one in skin color, and that seemed to have played a part in some stuff. Okay, now, but so my point in saying that is, my son could not be mistaken for anything else. He's 6 foot 1, extremely dark, and long dreadlocks. I didn't want him going to Mississippi to school. And then I'm hearing about how, even, I think if I'm understanding correctly, Nolan was having some problems with the school he was attending. If I'm remembering the story correctly, that he was facing things, and with the staff or the administration or whatever, had some dealings with the school, or whatever. But And y'all forgive me if I don't get my words exactly right, because I really feel some kind of way. We don't owe white people apologetics in this instance. Y'all, I'm not talking about hurting anybody. I'm not talking about going out of your door, seeing a what they call a white person and hurting them. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm talking about strictly the issue of the history between in this country between my people and what is called white people. We shouldn't be mincing words, period. Now, yeah, I know y'all are living these little modern lives, and then too, y'all still think this is about a religion. Y'all, this is what they call a Bible. Y'all still think this is about a religion. Y'all better wake up and understand that it's some stuff in here that still has not yet come to pass. And even though this book is not about main character energy of certain people that have caused problems, it does describe them. I just don't feel like going into that right now. Actually, I started to look up some stuff. I have two versions sitting here. Um, Christianity and religion have taken ancient manuscripts, altered them, and used them to make religion. Ancient text has nothing to do with religion. And you can still glean truths and see things because they can't make up everything. Okay? This text speaks of a people, an evil people, a people, and it says who are not really people. Get mad if you want to. It's in here. And Christianity and religion is lies, mythology. I don't hate anybody, but I told y'all I do not mince words. What I'm saying is based on study. What I just said then, years of it, and then too some of the experiences I had. I did not want my son to go to college in Mississippi. He ended up not going. I think there was a little bit of resentment because I think he didn't go on my word. And I think there was a little bit of resentment for years after that. But, I can only hope that as they get older, they start understanding some things for what they are. I'm not talking about living a life in fear, but we do need to be aware. We do need to plan. We do need to think. And we do need to follow our intuition. In this country, and this is what we have tried, my people have tried to explain to other people that want to come here for a better life, that while it is set up to be able to like to get jobs and an infrastructure has been built by the black man and the white man, my folks did the labor and a lot of the inventing. It was just stolen and credited to one of them. I don't hate anybody. This is what we've been trying to tell. In America, baby, do you honestly, let me tell you something. It's somewhere in these lands of the US of A where deep in the woods somebody has a cabin, and in that cabin they have a wall. Okay? This is not anything I've seen myself, but I'm telling you from my spirit, knowing this land and knowing the people that my people have had to deal with. There is a cabin deep in the woods, and in there is nice and cold, got good air conditioning in it, beers iced down when they get ready to ride out there. They like to hunt, and on the wall, they have animals' head, and they have the head of one of my people hanging on the wall in the good old US of A, just like an animal. You said, Lolita, how do you know that? I just know it. These are the people that used to use our babies for alligator bait. That's not a rabbit hole. See, here's the thing. This stuff is happening in 2026, but we're not supposed to talk about it. Even if it wasn't happening in 2026, it is part of the history. And apparently it's not going to die down because apparently enough Caucasoids are teaching their children their hate because it has not stopped. As a mother, my daughter has been invited over the years, she's grown now, to several birthday parties while we were living in Alabama and when we moved to Nashville. And the birthday parties that she was invited to were um, the birthday parties of YT people. Okay. I let her go to these birthday parties. Me now would not have let her go. She came home fine, but I was nervous the whole time. Every last party. Now, older Yvette, older Lolita would either have not let her go or I would have had to stay at the party myself. But see, I wasn't, of course, being the adult, I wasn't invited and I didn't want to embarrass my daughter. But so when you're talking about a rabbit hole, as if like going back to the past, first of all, like I said, it's still happening in 2026. Even if it was not, don't we say we'll never forget 9/11? Don't we say we'll never forget the Holocaust? It's a strange being that thinks that a people should forget what happened to their people. That's strange. And again, I'm not talking about hating anybody. My daughter went to a private school for a little while in middle school, um, an elite private school. So there was only kind of a certain kind of people there mainly. Uh, they went on a trip. I tell you, when you're young, and I'm just thankful to still have my daughter today. Um, and these things sound far fetched if you have not been the historical target of things. Now, you hear me when I told y'all I do not mince words. The division comes from doing the evil, not talking about the evil that was done. We're not ever going to stop talking about it till you stop doing it. Okay? So you can go on and go to sleep or whatever it is you were doing. Okay? She went on the trip with these people, with the school, and it was a camping trip. Honey, we had to sign documentation that if anything happened, that we wouldn't hold the school liable. Like I said, this is older Lolita. She just wouldn't have been going on the trip because I already know I didn't trust. That I had no reason to trust. And yes, things happen within a species. From what I understand, most of the violence that happens within most of the okay, how do they say it, that whoever you're mostly in community with is the one is that's subject to be um, the one that harms you. So black against black violence, white against white violence, or and so forth and so on. I get that, but because of the history, that can't be this can't be ignored, and we will not stop talking about it. I'm gonna say it again until you stop doing it. So they went on the camping trip. Lo and behold, they went out on the rafters in some water. There was some kind of issue with my daughter in the water and her life jacket. The ancestors were guarding my daughter. My son worked at, this has been several years ago, a company where they did made deliveries. So he would have to, get to the warehouse, check his logs or whatever it is they do, and put the stuff that was supposed to go on his truck. They'd have to load their truck, go out and make their deliveries, and then come back to the warehouse and unload or whatever it is, do their paperwork or reporting. Well, an electronic device or some kind of piece of equipment came up missing from his truck. Um, he was interrogated and by the police, and he said they held him so long that he said he started to just say, "Yeah, I did it." And I told him, I said, "You don't know." I said, "You don't admit to things." I said, "You don't ever admit to anything you did not do." Long story short, because I don't want to be telling too much of the stories when it's another person's story to tell, but it does affect me. Guess who? Guess who stole the item? When they fired my son now, put him through hours of interrogation with the police. Guess who ended up had stolen the device or the expensive piece of equipment off the truck? Barbie. What do you mean, Barbie? A white girl? I don't hate anybody, y'all, because, like I said, I don't think people are worth hating. But please understand, you do not have a savior. Nobody died for you. That's a bad joke to think that you can roam earth being as evil as a collective as you are and think somebody died. You don't really even understand what a savior would have to be that would have to die to cover you in what's called an eternity. You don't even know what a savior is, and your damn pastor doesn't either. And I'm talking to everybody right now. Y'all, you don't know what you're talking about. You're not fixing to be eternal and be a headache always. And I promise you, I'm not saying this from hate. I'm telling you the truth. We don't owe anybody apologetics when we discuss issues like what happened with Nolan Wells. And from what I'm hearing and the reports I'm hearing, news reports and stuff, it's suspicious. It's suspicious. This is what I wanted to say before I get off of here. I don't hate anybody and say like work wise because we know we don't live on an island. We got this melting pot going on, which was never a God idea, quote unquote God. But in my personal life, whoever I need to work with, I will work with you just fine. If we're working late on a project and we need to order a pizza and go in on a pizza to put in to burn the midnight, what do they call it, burn the midnight oil and get a project done, who are we working with? Come on, let's get her done. Let's get her done. I'll put on a pot of coffee, and then you can put on the next pot of coffee or whatever. That's fine. In my personal life, I don't have any friends that aren't my species. And nobody should be asking me why. Now, I don't roll with a lot of people, period. Because it's several of my folks I don't trust. It's several relatives I wouldn't go anywhere with. But I'm staying on topic. I have been nice to other people's have been nice to me. I've helped other people's have helped me. And I think that's what the way it should be. I think that's what we should do with each other. But there is clearly a problem in this country. And not talking about it, not speaking of it, is not going to make it go away. To the white YT community, you know your heart towards my people. Individually, you know your heart towards my people. You know your spouse's heart towards my people. You know your parents' heart towards my people. You know what your grandparents and great grandparents have said concerning my people and done concerning my people. Me talking about it has yet doesn't shed your blood. These things need to be known. There should be billboards across the United States that said in this country, There was a time when Black Americans' skin was used to make lampshades and handbags and wallets, when their babies were used as bait for alligators, when there should be signs all across and billboards that to remind that certain people used to hang uh, Black Americans from trees and eat a sandwich. It was a Sunday afternoon, uh, good old time. It's not the talking about it; it's the continuing doing it. What kind of being thinks it should just keep being able to be evil and do this stuff, and nobody should say anything about it? My people, I know y'all are out here and living all different kind of lives and different opportunities and things, and you have people that you like, and if y'all have an understanding or whatever, but because of my experiences, because of what I see going on with other peoples of mine trying to mingle and deal with y'all, that's a choice I choose personally not to make. If I'm out somewhere and it's clearly, I listen to my intuition. If I can help somebody, I will help them. I have had, like I said, I've had other people, if I needed something, help me. That's beautiful that we help each other. But my people, we just have to watch it. And there's no apologizing for that. Let me tell you one more story. Um, oh gosh. When I was in college, I lived in the dorm, and this was in Alabama. And I was dating the man who became my husband later and the father of my children. And I hope he does not get mad at me for this. But he called me one night at the dorm, and he was working full time, okay? And they would work because he worked at a plant, and they worked 7 days a week. So we're talking about an 18-year-old, 19-year-old that works 7 days a week and wanted to go out. He said he wanted to go to Burger King when he called me, and then he said he was going to go to the club for a while. When he told me that, I just had this feeling, and it was not about, I don't want you going to the club without me. No, it was spiritual. So, and I told him, I said, please don't go to the club tonight. Not tonight. Don't go tonight. But he was like, I've been working and blah, 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 and I just want to get out for a little bit. He went to the club. This is the last story I'm going to tell y'all. Uh, at the club, he said he walked in. He said he wasn't even there 10 or 15 minutes, but he said he walked in, and the atmosphere, he said it was just different. And he said he knew he needed to leave. And as he was leaving, something happened with the bouncers. And the bouncers were YT men. and he did not do anything. Okay, he didn't, because he wasn't even there long enough to do anything. He said he went in, he started getting the eerie feeling, and he can see he has giftings too. I don't know that he knew that at the time, but then he knew he needed to leave. Well, it ended up he had some trouble with the bouncers. And I don't know, I don't remember if they had mistaken him for somebody or if they were just being, Billy badasses or whatever. But he ended up getting into it with the bouncers, and it ended up being three. So he gets outside and they're like roughing him up. He finally makes it to his car. Y'all, I'm shortening the story, okay? And gets in the car, and one of the bouncers, they had beat him up. And um, one of the bouncers, and this has been so many years ago, I'm trying to remember, yeah, jumped on top of his car, jumped on top of his car, and I don't remember everything. I don't remember everything that happened. I know it sounds like a holy, like a WHOLLY story, and it does sound like that because it's been so long ago. I don't remember. We were teenagers at the time, and he and I are the same age within a few months, and we're 58 now. Okay, and when he must have done something. No, he didn't, and no, we don't have to have been doing anything like Cyrus when Child thought he had stolen water, and it turned out he had not. That's why I say we have an inverse relationship with other peoples of the earth, and there's a reason why. All that's gonna come out, but the the only way to finish up the story, because it was three bouncers after one man. The only reason my boyfriend at the time, who I said later became my husband, this was in Alabama. The only way he got away is because his brother-in-law, was it his brother-in-law? It was somebody he knew. Somebody, I don't know, y'all. I'm saying, let me not say that because I don't want to, because I don't really remember who it was. It was somebody that my boyfriend at the time knew of, that came up to the bouncer and handled business to get him off of my boyfriend, because the way they were going, it 3 on 1, three bouncers on 18, 19 year old, and he had some size on him, or had, or whatever, but and he's trying to get away, but they chase him even to the point of jumping up on the hood of his car. But you think we going down a rabbit hole and bringing up stuff we shouldn't be talking about because supposedly it happened so long ago, when your hearts have not changed. And let me say this, closing this out. We say we are not our ancestors. That was them. That's not us. We, my people, we're not our ancestors. We're not going to take blah blah blah, this, that, and the other. And then white people will say, or what's called white people will say, well, we're not our ancestors. We didn't do those things, and why should we feel guilty? I don't think y'all should feel guilty. What good is guilt? You can't save it, invest it, or spend it. Damn your guilt. Nobody needs you to feel guilty. But I want to say this: having descendants and children, I don't know why, and this is everybody. I don't know why y'all, how you hold yourself so intelligent. This is everybody in some things, and yet just kind of damn dumb in other things. Having descendants is a form of eternity. Is a form. It's a natural 3D form of eternity. You are your ancestors. How do you say in one breath you're not your ancestors and you didn't do what they did when their blood runs through your veins? You couldn't be here if they weren't. And then soon as you have a baby and you're looking at the baby and you're counting the toes and hands and fingers and all this, oh, he has grandpa's eyes. We all do it. Why does he have grandpa's eyes? That's part of grandpa. You are your ancestors. I am my ancestors. What has been is, and you are not innocent. And there is a cup to drink for that wickedness. I'm not talking hate. I'm just talking reality. All right. Good night, y'all.